out that away, so I'm headed out to where I grew up in the western part of Pennsylvania. So great to have you here. And today what we're going to talk about is this question: what are the few things you know well? And maybe even put those in the comments. Like, what are the few things you know well? You could throw those right in the comments, or you could text me at 215-740-3662. We do a lot of this on our Sunday service, a lot of texting, and you can text me 215-740-3662 about what are the few things you know well. And that's a big spiritual concept that with spirituality, we might not know all things, but we will come to know a few things really well. And there's a meaning to that. And what I want to do is I want to read for you a little passage from the Bible, and then how we would see that from a Christian New Church perspective. And it really is quite powerful. And the line is this. So they're talking about this ancient patriarch, thousands of years, like over 3,000 years ago. And God gives him this promise of all that will come in the future. And it's talking, you can look at it at a physical, natural level, obviously, but we look at it more as a poetic truth. Like in all of our lives, we just reach this point where all of a sudden we start to hear God's promise. And it's a promise that's to hear it, we're going to have to be really humble. It's a very humbling process, life overall. And when we come from that very humble place of life and a servant's heart, we're going to start to hear the promise. And the promise is one where God sort of is talking more and more about the integrity of life, that the better angels of our nature will be lived out into life, if not always here in this life, definitely in the next, in heaven. And that basic idea of integrity, and it's an integrity that's both better angels of our nature here lived out into life, and then it's also an integrity of heaven and earth. I mean, integrity works on so many levels. It has this idea of wholeness or completeness or something being woven together, and that's what it's talking about here. And it's very, very powerful concept. So what we're doing is we're taking a look at this Bible passage, and then we're going to take a look at this passage from the book Secrets of Heaven that talks about how we might consider this. And the very simple line from the Bible, here's God talking to Abraham, telling him about the promise, and then it says, monarchs will come from you. In other words, kings and queens. And it goes on to say in the Bible, nations do not mean nations, but good qualities. And monarchs, kings, queens, do not mean monarchs, but true concepts. And I love just a very simple idea, right? That we're not talking about literal kings or a little nation. We're talking about literal kings and queens that come to rule our life. In other words, what are the few things we really come to know well? And it's a powerful idea. And I was thinking about that this morning, just poking my head outside and thinking, yeah, what are the few things that we come to know well? Well, I think one is a simple idea that love wins. That's a big one. Love wins in the end. God is one, going back to kind of the Jewish tradition of God is one, and that's that whole integrity and the broad sweep of faith. Another one that's very much a Christian New Church one is this idea that we have to be very fundamentalist about being very ecumenical. In other words, we have to really be disciplined about being as welcoming as we can possibly be of as many faiths and perspectives as are out there. It doesn't mean that we lose track of what's right and what's wrong. No, but it means that we're going to be embracing, we're going to be a big umbrella church. I think that's one that's very particular to the New Church. And one that I was thinking of today, and this comes from my buddy Craig down in Charleston, South Carolina, somebody who's been a help with New Church Live. And what Craig told me once is we were planning to do a service on addiction. Is he said, the trick to it is a real simple process, and I like this process. He said, don't trust your first thought, trust your second thought and the action that comes out of that. So don't trust your first thought. You trust your second thought and the action that comes out of that. And I don't know how that works for you. I know for me, that's a very powerful concept because I can get very defensive, at the drop of a hat, and then totally misjudge a situation. And if I act out of that place, it's never going to go well because it isn't actually what's accurate. And it's not based on truth, in other words. And so for me, a key one is like, oh, here's my original thought. That's probably not right. Is it true? Is it absolutely true? Byron Katie talks about those. What am I with that thought? What am I without that thought? You could go through that simple process. And usually you don't get past the first one of those 4 questions, by the way. And then we can start to go to, okay, what's my second thought here? And the second thought usually comes from a beautiful combination of humility and goodwill. So humility and goodwill kind of blend together, and we realize I don't really know, and that's the humility part, and I'm going to wish this person really well. Humility and goodwill, humility and goodwill. Those two are so critically important. Almost cannot overstate how important those are to put those two together. And that's where those monarchs, quote unquote, where we just need a few of those things. We need a few of those kind of checks on our life. And if we get a few of those checks on our life, they really will make a big difference as we move forward in our lives, because those checks, we just need, and we can't go to all things. You can't face a situation and go through, okay, what's 100 things I need to think about here? No, you need sort of an emergency kit that you can go like, oh yeah, here are the most significant things to remember in really stressful situations. And what are those for you? Again, you could throw those in the comment section if you'd like, or you could text me if you'd like, because I think that's a worthwhile conversation to have. So, friends, know what you know. That's the takeaway for today. And then what we're going to do now is know what you know. And what I know as well is that it's important to have a quiet moment every morning. That's what we do right now. To do this quiet moment, what I'm going to do is we're going to just take a breath here. I don't have my prayer bell with me, so we're not going to use that, but we're going to take a breath. Then we're going to listen to this beautiful meditation from the Old Testament. Then we're going to do a little prayer, our Father prayer from the New Testament. Then we're going to come back to the Old Testament with the Levitican blessing to close. And what you can do then is, if you want to leave a comment, you can leave a comment on our social media platforms. So with that, dear friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery hello to folks here. And again, I hope you're all looking forward to a wonderful day. I'm getting to see my family today, which I very much enjoy. And for any of you who are aware of Oakmont, Pennsylvania, that is where I will be staying. Linda, good morning to you, my friend. Marcus, good morning to you. Gene, as always, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, let's take a look over here. See if there's any more comments over here. A couple more comments over here. Sherry, great to have you joining us as well. Gabriella, great to have you joining us as well this morning. And friends, just wishing you a beautiful day. It sure is nice being able to join you. And, I complain a lot about technology. And I certainly do enjoy being able to use technology and things like we use it for with 10 Minutes of Calm. So with that, dear friends, a little note about our appreciation with your financial support to New Church Live. And this is Pastor Chuck Blair wishing you all the best. Have a great day and see you tomorrow. Like our content?
It's funded by viewers like you. Please consider becoming a sustaining supporter of New Church Live today.
Take care, my friends.